Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be showing you the top 9 Unity mistakes that beginners make. So grab a pen and paper, some cookies, some snacks, some drinks, and let's get started, because this is going to be important. A very common mistake is not finishing the project. This mistake is very critical, even if you don't realize it. This mistake is due to a lack of motivation. This mistake usually occurs in beginners because of so many project ideas, but so many unexplored concepts that oftentimes a beginner just won't be able to understand stuff, and it's really hard to maintain the project. And the scripts beginners write are oftentimes dependent on each other. The scripts get really messy. They all depend on each other, which is bad, because you generally want to have like a certain game manager and then scripts deriving from it. So a way to avoid this is just to keep your code clean, but like not perfect. And so if this video gets 15 likes, I'll talk about it. I quit projects all the time and it's fine. However, like never give up if something goes wrong. Just always continue trying stuff. Now, a proof of concept is like a small project that is designed to test a small thing. For example, a post-processing proof of concept is a small project dedicated to test only post-processing. Not having a proof of concept is usually bad because when you don't, you will get a lot of errors. Nothing will work and your whole project will get ruined. And in the case of post-processing, your whole project might turn pink. And if your project is not backed up, it is ruined, and that you might even quit your game dev journey because of it. Because these stuff are hard. You've been working on a project and then it just gets ruined suddenly. It's hard, I know. Another Unity mistake is not using version control. Using version control means your project is backed up, and in case of a mistake, like in the last example, you can restore your project to its latest successful version. But without version control, your project can't be restored if you already have saved it before in a critical state. I personally love and use the version control for its convenience, and if you don't, I highly recommend you do. It's built into Unity and it is available as a package. I recommend you search that up. Having a final goal in mind is crucial, and if you don't have a goal in mind, you're working towards nothing and just adding plain features. If you don't have a goal in mind, you can think about the steps for making your game, but if you don't, you essentially don't have a plan. Plain features is not a game, always remember that. And this brings me to the next topic, a very crucial one. Now, almost all game devs are actually guilty of this. Now, what do you count as an unfinished game? An example of this is almost all of my early games. An unfinished game is one with features or art, but not a complete game loop. I use this term to refer to the games that you play once and then forget about. You still don't get it? Well, that's okay, because it's pretty hard to get. Like, let me give you an example. So I have two games, one released in 2022 and 2023, for the sake of this example. The first game is called Ram It, and it's basically a game where you shoot at enemies, and the other is called ElfQuest, a game about collecting presents. Both have crappy graphics. However, Ram It, instead of enemies, there are white cubes, no data saving, not a game loop, no music, and no atmosphere. Now, I use atmosphere to refer to like the game environment, because when you play a horror game, if it's like, for example, all bright and sunshine and stuff, you won't feel the atmosphere. The whole point of a horror game is to scare you, right? And if you don't have it, well, it's not even a game. That's what I refer to as the atmosphere. However, in the game ElfQuest, there was data saving, music, and an atmosphere. It doesn't mean all these criteria need to be met for a finished game, but you'll see most of it, if not all of them, in finished games. If you still don't get it, think about the types of games you or your friends play. They have finished games with animations, right? Finished enemies, a game loop, an atmosphere. And if you have been paying attention and listening to me, you grabbed a pen and paper. But I know you didn't. So, go grab it. Now that you grabbed the pen and paper, let's move on to a similar concept. Features are great, however, if you get carried away on them, you forget your final goal, which means you might derail to a completely different project and do something completely different than you intended. I'm guilty of this. I have many unfinished projects that I didn't release because I derailed completely because I was adding too much features. And also focusing too much on the features means you waste a lot of time because, let's be honest, implementing features is hard and time consuming. This means instead of the lightweight project that you thought would take 3 weeks, you made a giant 6-month behemoth and quit midway because of the motivation loss. I did this with a project that I won't go into detail, but all you need to know is that I added a bunch of useless features like screenshotting and a lot more stuff than I intended. Let's be honest, literally nobody will ever use these features. Like, screenshotting is available on a computer. They are the keybinds to screenshot. And even faster is just pressing a button that instead of like hovering your mouse over and pressing the actual button in the game. And it's inconvenient. And remember the unfinished game part? Well, you can actually release a beta version, which means less features and a bit more bugs. But it's never good to release an unfinished game. It brings me to my next mistake. Listening to others. Listening to others way too much. Listening to others is very important, don't get me wrong. However, listening too much is a problem. Oftentimes the player doesn't know what he or she really wants. The customer never really know what they want. Plus, a lot of non-game devs don't understand how hard really it is to make something. And oftentimes, game developers underestimate also. Like, you should listen, however, because one of the most priceless things a game developer can have is ideas. Because the real problem is not how to make a game, but what game to make. But on the other hand, not listening at all is a very big mistake. Because at the end of the day, you're releasing the game to the same people that you're not listening to. And if you aren't listening to what people want in the game, why do you think they'll play your game? Unless you're making this game for fun, you should listen to what other people say because you're releasing it to them.